My own property looked like a crime scene. After 3 years of caring for my mother with Alzheimer's, I drove back to my cabin in Colorado, the same cabin where I had scattered my wife's ashes, but instead of peace, I was met with a nightmare. Bright red, no trespassing signs plastered across my gate fence mailbox, even taped to the trees. And there she was, a sharp-dressed woman with a briefcase calmly filming me like she owned the place. I tore the signs down furious, yelling, "These are my signs." She just smirked and said, "You owe $47,000. The way she said it so matter-of-fact, like it was nothing. But how did this stranger know my name? Why did her voice sound so terrifyingly familiar? She kept reciting legal jargon like she was reading from a script. Court-authorized signage, she called it. Emergency debt collection procedures. But it wasn't just a few signs. She'd gone military mode on my property. Even the gate to Sarah's Memorial Garden's sacred ground where I said goodbye to my wife was taped over with notices. My blood boiled. I shouted, "You can't put signs on her memorial." She looked right at me and said, "Sentimental designations don't override legal proceedings." The coldness in her voice, like she'd never loved anything in her life. That's when my neighbor Wilson came running over, phone in hand, live streaming the entire scene. She's been here since 6 a.m., posting signs, he told me, while across the lake some kids stopped playing to stare. Within minutes, people online were commenting, "This isn't normal document, everything. This isn't debt collection, this is personal." And it was personal, because when she dropped a business card while leaving, I picked it up and froze. The name was handwritten, Susan Hernandez. Underneath, scratched out but still visible, the original print, S. Martinez. Suddenly, it clicked. A ghost from 20 years ago. My college fiancée, Susanna Martinez. The one I left, the one I abandoned for Sarah. At first I told myself it couldn't be. People don't hold grudges that long. But then the portfolio appeared, dozens of documents, fees, assessments, interest stacked like a skyscraper of debt. The math was sickening. A few thousand in HOA fees turned into $47,000 with compounding penalties, late fees, and so-called legal costs. Every time I shouted, she answered calmly. Every protest I made, she crushed with another document. And as much as I wanted to call it all fake, technically, it looked legal. The worst was when she pulled out surveying equipment walking the perimeter, photographing Sarah's memorial garden. Collateral asset documentation, she said, like she was discussing the weather. That was the moment I almost lost control. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, anything. But I just stood there, fists clenched, watching her catalog the place I thought was untouchable. That night I sat alone in the cabin staring at the ashes of Sarah's flowers, and for the first time I thought maybe I should give up. Maybe I should pay whatever she wants, rip the garden out, walk away. I even asked myself if this was all my fault. I did abandon Susanna in college when her mom was dying. I did fall in love with someone else at the worst possible time in her life. Maybe this was karma finally catching up. But then Wilson knocked, and then my son Danny showed up with his laptop. He'd been digging, and what he found made me sick. Susan wasn't just some ex out for payback. She'd been stalking us for years. Fake social media accounts, Google alerts on my name, even monitoring Sarah's obituary page. Wilson added fuel. 7 different men had similar stories, all ex-partners. Susan had weaponized the law against. This wasn't a one-off grudge. This was her entire career. Revenge as a profession. The next weeks were a blur of court filings, community meetings, and media trucks parked outside my cabin. Susan hit me with a lawsuit, $2.3 million, for emotional damages over 20 years of lost opportunities. Imagine having your stupid 21-year-old mistakes judged by today's standards with compound interest on guilt. The neighborhood split into sides, Team Gary, Team Susan, and the ones too scared to pick. Social media went to war. When the hearing came, the courthouse looked like a circus. Susan arrived with a polished legal team, and a PR strategy painted me as a deadbeat who abandoned his obligations. Me? I had Danny, my public defender's son, and a neighbor with a folder of investigative dirt. I thought I was finished. But then Danny stood and cross-examined her one question at a time. "When did you first contact my father about these fees?" 3 days after Sarah Parker's death certificate was filed. When did you begin researching his property records 8 months before any debt was due? The pattern was clear. Premeditation, obsession, vendetta, disguised as business. Then he asked, "How many ex-partners have you pursued legally?" Her lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The cracks showed, and under pressure, Susan snapped. "I don't care about other men!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the silent courtroom. "Gary was mine first. Sarah was a predator who stole my life." Gasps filled the room. The professional mask was gone, replaced by 2 decades of rage. She admitted it live in front of hundreds in the courtroom and hundreds of thousands online. She confessed she'd spent 20 years plotting my destruction. That meltdown went viral within minutes. Hashtags, reaction videos, news alerts, the whole world watched a respected attorney self-destruct on live stream. Judges don't like theatrics, but even he couldn't ignore what everyone just saw. He ordered her barred from contacting me, suspended her license, and opened investigations into her entire practice. But the real collapse happened outside. Cameras swarmed as she screamed at reporters, accusing me of male privilege and vowing this wasn't over. She looked unhinged, and for the first time I realized the truth. This was never about HOA fees. It wasn't even about Sarah. This was obsession, pure and simple. That night, I stood at Sarah's memorial garden. Fresh flowers in my hand, the air finally quiet for the first time in weeks. Susan's signs were gone, her mask was gone, and her power was gone. All that remained was a broken woman whose 20-year vendetta had devoured her entire life. And I understood something I wish I'd known years ago. Love wants someone else's happiness, even if it doesn't include you. Obsession only wants control. That's the lesson. Choose love, not obsession, because obsession always ends in destruction.